I want you to imagine something. You have worked for the same company for 4 years. For years of early mornings and late nights. For years of projects delivered on time, clients impressed, numbers exceeded. For years of building something, quietly, carefully, with everything you had. And then one morning you walk into your boss office. And you find out the promotion you earned, the one with your name on it, has been given to someone else. Not a colleague. Not a competitor. Your sister. And the worst part, she knew. She knew it was mine. And she took it anyway. Drop your city name in the comments right now. And hit subscribe button, because what happened 3 months later in the CEO's office. I could not have written it if I tried. My name is Claudia Reeves. I am 33 years old and I work, or rather I worked, as a senior marketing strategist at a mid-sized consulting firm called Meridian Group in Austin, Texas. I say worked because everything changed. But I am getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you about the 4 years first. I joined Meridian straight out of grad school at 28. Entry-level position. Shared office. Terrible coffee machine on the 3rd floor that everyone complained about, but nobody ever replaced. I loved it anyway. I am the kind of person who loves work, not in an unhealthy way, not in a way that swallowed my whole life, but in the way of someone who genuinely enjoys the puzzle of it. Marketing strategy is essentially problem-solving with creativity wrapped around it, and I was good at it. Clients responded to my pitches. Campaigns I designed performed above projections. My direct manager, a sharp, fair woman named Diana Osei, told me in my 3rd-year review that I was the most consistently reliable person on her team. Those words meant everything to me, because I had not always been reliable. Growing up in a household where everything revolved around my sister Natalie, her grades, her activities, her very loud and very constant needs, I had spent most of my childhood feeling like the background character in someone else's story. Not unloved, just secondary. Always secondary. Work was the first place I had ever felt like the main character. So I worked hard, harder than anyone asked me to. And by my 4th year at Meridian, I had built a genuine case for a senior director position that had opened up when our previous director left for a competitor. Diana told me in October that she was recommending me. She said it clearly, directly, with the quiet certainty of someone who had made up their mind. The recommendation is yours, Claudia. The final decision goes through the executive team, but I want you to know where I stand. I drove home that evening feeling something I did not have a word for. Not happiness exactly. Something steadier than that. Like arriving somewhere you had been walking toward for a long time. I need to tell you about my sister. Natalie Reeves, Natalie Park now, she married her college boyfriend Derek 3 years ago, is 2 years older than me and has worked at Meridian for 8 months. 8 months. She joined in February of this year through a referral. My referral. She had been between jobs, her 3rd position in 4 years, each one ending in circumstances she described vaguely as not the right fit. And she had asked me if there were any openings at Meridian, and I had said yes, and I had put her name forward because she was my sister, and that is what you do for family. She was hired as an account coordinator. Entry level. Same place I had started. I had been genuinely happy for her. I had shown her the coffee machine, the still terrible, still unreplaced coffee machine, and introduced her to my colleagues and taken her to lunch on her first week. I thought having her there would be nice. I thought wrong. Natalie has always had a particular gift. Not for work, though she is competent enough. Her gift is for rooms. For reading the energy of a space and finding the person with the most power and attaching herself to that person with the specific warmth and attentiveness that powerful people find irresistible. She had done it her whole life. With our parents. With teachers. With every social situation she had ever entered. I watched her do it at Meridian. Within 3 months she was having lunch with people 3 levels above her. Within 5 months she had somehow ended up in a cross-departmental strategy meeting that had nothing to do with her role. Within 6 months our CEO, a tall, silver-haired man named Richard Calloway, who I had spoken to exactly 4 times in 4 years, seemed to know her name. I noticed. I told myself it did not matter. That my work spoke for itself. That Diana's recommendation was solid. I told myself a lot of things. The executive team was supposed to make the director decision in November. Diana told me mid-month that the process was taking slightly longer than expected. Standard, she said, nothing to worry about. I was not worried. I should have been. On a Tuesday morning in the 3rd week of November, I arrived at work to find an email in my inbox from HR. It was addressed to the full marketing department. It announced the appointment of a new senior director of marketing strategy. Natalie Park. I read it 3 times. The words did not change that I sat at my desk for a very long time. My phone buzzed. A text from Natalie. I was going to tell you last night, but I wanted to wait until it was official. I'm so excited. We're going to be working so closely together. This is going to be amazing. 3 exclamation points. I put my phone face down on my desk. I thought about 4 years. About late nights and early mornings and Diana's words in October. About the particular feeling of arriving somewhere. And then I thought about Natalie.in those cross-departmental meetings. Having lunch with Richard Calloway. 8 months. I stood up. I walked to Diana's office. I knocked. She looked up and her expression told me everything before she said a word. Claudia. Sit down. Did you know? I said. I did not sit down. She was quiet for a moment. The executive team made a different decision than my recommendation, she said carefully. I want you to know that my recommendation did not change. Did you know it was going to be Natalie? I said. Another pause. I became aware last week, she said. I was asked to keep the process confidential until the announcement. I nodded. I walked back to my desk. I picked up my bag. And I went home. Natalie called that evening. I let it ring. She called again. I answered on the 3rd call because I knew she would keep calling, and I needed to have this conversation before I lost my nerve. Are you okay? She said. I've been worried about you all day. Did you know? I said. About Diana's recommendation. Did you know it was supposed to be me? A pause. Not a surprised pause. A calculating pause. The pause of someone deciding how much to admit. I knew there were other candidates, she said carefully. Natalie. Richard and I had been talking for months, she said. About strategy, about the direction of the department, about... He felt I had a fresh perspective. You have been here 8 months, I said. I know this is hard. Did you know it was supposed to be me? I said again. The longest pause. Yes, she said quietly. I knew. I ended the call. I sat in my apartment in the dark for a long time. And then I made a decision. I was not going to leave. Leaving would mean she won. Leaving would mean 4 years of my work handed over completely. Leaving would mean she got everything, and I got nothing. I was going to stay. And I was going to be so exceptional that the decision would eventually be impossible to ignore. Stay with me, because what happens in the next 3 months is why I am sitting here telling you this story. And if you have ever watched someone take something that was yours, and stayed anyway, you already know the particular kind of strength that requires. Subscribe if you haven't, and keep watching. I went back to work the next morning. I smiled at Natalie in the hallway. I attended the meetings where she now sat at the head of the table. I delivered my work on time, above standard, without complaint. I also started keeping records. Not out of bitterness, out of clarity. Every project I led, every client result, every metric that exceeded target. Documented, dated, filed. Diana noticed. She said nothing directly. But she started CCing me on communications she did not need to include me on. Small things. The kind of quiet professional support that does not show up on any org chart, but means everything. And then something happened that I had not anticipated. Natalie started struggling. Senior director was not entry-level account coordination. It required strategic thinking, client relationship management, team leadership, skills that are not built in 8 months. Skills that take years. The cracks started showing in December. A client presentation that went poorly. A campaign launch that missed its window because approvals were delayed. A team that had respected their previous structure, now navigating a new leader who did not quite understand what she was leading. I watched. I said nothing. I kept delivering. In January, Richard Calloway called me into his office. Richard Calloway's office was on the 14th floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Austin skyline. The kind of office that is designed to remind you of the distance between where you are and where the decisions get made. I had been here 4 times in 4 years. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. I sat. He looked at me for a moment with the expression of a man assembling words carefully. I owe you a conversation I should have had in November, he said. I waited. Diana's recommendation was sound, he said. The executive team's decision to go a different direction was, in retrospect, made with incomplete information. Incomplete information, I said. Natalie presented herself as having capabilities and experience that her actual tenure did not reflect, he said. Which was the most careful way I had ever heard anyone say what he was saying. I see, I said. The last 3 months have made certain things clear, he said. About what the role requires and about who is actually equipped to deliver it. I kept my face very still. I would like to offer you the senior director position, he said, effective immediately, with a formal acknowledgement that the November decision was an error. The Austin skyline sat behind him unchanged. What happens to Natalie? I said. He paused. That is being handled separately, he said. I accepted the position. I want to be honest, I did not feel triumph. Not in the way I had imagined during those dark November evenings. What I felt was something quieter. The particular satisfaction of a thing being set right, not dramatically, not loudly, just correctly. Natalie was moved back to a coordinator role in a different department. She called me that evening. I answered. I know you didn't do this, she said. Her voice was flat. Exhausted. I didn't, I said. I made a mess, she said. Yes, I said. You did. A long silence. Are we okay, she said. I thought about it honestly. Not right now, I said. Maybe eventually. But not right now. She was quiet. That's fair, she said. We have not spoken much since. Some Sunday family dinners where we are careful with each other. Polite. Distant. My mother thinks we will find our way back. Maybe we will. But I have learned something about forgiveness. It does not require a timeline, and it does not require pretending something did not happen. I sat in Richard Calloway's office, and I looked at the Austin skyline, and I thought about 4 years. About every morning I had chosen to show up. About Diana saying you are the most consistently reliable person on my team. About November. About the email. About Natalie's 3 exclamation points. And about the 3 months after. When I went back anyway, kept working anyway, kept delivering anyway. Not because I was certain it would lead anywhere, but because the work was mine, and nobody could take that part. They could take the title. They could take the office. They could take the announcement and the org chart position. But they could not take what I actually knew, what I had actually built, what 4 years of genuine effort had actually made me. That part was mine. And eventually, not always, not in every story, but in this one, that part was enough. If you watched until the end, drop your city one more time. And if someone has ever taken something that was yours, and you stayed anyway, this story was for you. Subscribe, new story every week. Link below.